I've read a lot of books in my time. The Bible, the Quran, Cat in the Hat, The Hunger Games, Catching Fire is the second Hunger Games book. But I was running out of stuff to read. I didn't know what to read until finally I found a solution. The solution came in the form of a beautiful love story. A tragic tale, but beautiful all the same. And surely there's nothing wrong with this book, right? I mean, it's just a book. How bad could it get? It was bad. So, Desperate Love Institute, right? For those of you who don't know, Desperate Love Institute is kind of a joke, right? The Defense Language Institute is where all linguists in the military, or the vast majority of them, they go to learn a foreign language, right? And it can be a lot of different languages like Russian, Chinese, Arabic, Korean, what have you, right? But a prevailing theme with this like school is a lot of people get into really, really, really bad relationships. Like it goes south, right? I myself attended this school, and I can attest to the fact it gets bad, right? So I was really interested to see that someone had made a book about this school, and me being the reader I am, decided to check it out. What I was not prepared for was the pure volume of just ridiculousness that would follow. So sit back and enjoy my review of Desperate Love Institute by Jessica Carter. So our story begins in what I can only assume is late 2022, right? Our main protagonist, Natalie Winters, is introduced to us in like a timeline, right? She thinks about joining the military. She goes to the recruiter office. She goes to MEPS and, processes into the military. And then she finally gets to basic training, right? And the first 5 chapters of the book are all about her adapting to a new life as a trainee, as a soldier, trying to adjust her mindset to what the military is going to require of her, right? And this is all actually pretty par for the course. I can't really comment on anything too terrible in this beginning portion because it's not bad, right? It's just bland. One interesting thing to note, though, is you very rapidly realize within the first page or two, every single piece of dialogue in this book is italicized. It's an interesting stylistic choice. I don't know why they did that, but it's all italicized anytime someone talks. Right? So she's moving through, she's doing basic training, and eventually she meets our first love interest, Specialist Jones. Now, Specialist Jones has enlisted in the United States Army for reasons we'll go into later, but Private Natalie Winters seems to take a liking to Specialist Jones. And it's here where we start to see the first problems with this book, right? All of the stuff before this wasn't that bad, realistically. But as soon as we get into the love interest part, it starts to go downhill really, really, really quickly. And I'll get more into that later on. But it's just interesting to see this love blossom all the way back in basic training, right? And you can kind of tell that's how this isn't going to work out too well, because anytime you find your lover in basic training, shit's going to go south. So as we continue through the first part of this book, the basic training leading up to DLI, we have a few scenes, right? A few parts, a few chapters where Natalie starts to increase her feelings start to grow for Specialist Jones, right? There's one notable scene where the two of them are eating MREs. Those are like packaged survival meals, essentially, for the military. They're eating MREs together, and they're leaning against each other's backs, sitting on the ground, because, they're new to the military. They don't really have rights yet. And there's a very strange part of this book where the author goes into a lot of detail about how Natalie can feel every ripple in Specialist Jones' muscles, which kind of gave me some pause, right? I knew this was going to be a romance book going in. How much of a romance book it would be is something I definitely was not prepared for, but this was the first sign that I had signed up for far more than I bargained for. So we close out the basic training arc of this book. Specialist Jones has been helping Private Winters, go through basic training, right? Encouraging her, being nice to her, giving her pieces of his MREs, teaching her new tricks and combatives. And, Private Winters this entire time is just like, Specialist Jones, yeah, I need more. And this relationship continues to blossom, right? And it's not entirely one-sided. Specialist Jones is being a little flirtatious. He's saying some things that make Natalie's heart skip. And we finally close out this chapter, this part of the book, with both of these characters finally reaching DLI. They've graduated basic training. Natalie's parents are proud of her, and they arrived to DLI, ready to learn the languages that they enlisted to learn. But life doesn't always work out that way, right? Of course, there's going to be some problems. So Natalie, Specialist Jones. And the rest of these prospective linguists all arrive to DLI. They start in processing, they meet their new drill sergeants, they learn what the standards are going to be, and then they are all told what their new languages will be. Specialist Jones receives Modern Standard Arabic, a pretty common language to learn. Natalie receives Korean. So Natalie, desperate to have a familiar face in her class, someone she recognizes, knows, and trusts, does whatever she can to get into Modern Standard Arabic. Anything at all. She's not really too concerned with what language she learns. She just wants to be with Specialist Jones. So what Natalie does, she meets another student, and that student really, 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 really wanted to learn Korean. So Natalie and the student go to their drill sergeants and ask if they can swap languages. Natalie wants to learn Modern Standard Arabic. That other student wants to learn Korean. It'll all work out, right? Well, the commander of the unit is a little bit hesitant to let these students pick what they do. The military is not always nice. You don't always get your way. So we have about a week of waiting, where Natalie and this other student are waiting to see what language they get. And during this time, Natalie has gone ahead with the assumption it's going to get approved for sure. No way it does not get approved. So she begins going to study Modern Standard Arabic with Specialist Jones. And here's where things start to get way more interesting. Stuff starts to heat up a lot. Specialist Jones starts flirting overtly with Natalie. He puts her hand on her hand, and it lingers for a long time. he puts his hand on her leg, and it lingers for a long time. And Natalie, this entire time, super into it. Loves this guy. So, we gotta continue the story, see where all this goes. Now, there's something here I forgot to mention. And this is a very important thing to bring up because this crops up multiple times throughout the book. Specialist Jones, during this scene where he helped put his hand on her hand, they're like lingering, they're like looking into each other's eyes, heat's rising. Specialist Jones mentions that he went to college before he joined the Army. He went to college to be like a massage therapist, right? And this is a very important detail to remember for this book. Because Natalie, throughout the course of this book, will end up having multiple, very detailed fantasies about the possibility of Specialist Jones giving her a professional massage. And she goes very in-depth with explaining the massage and like how he's going to massage her. It doesn't quite get super explicit, but I just thought worth mentioning because it gets brought up multiple times. Now, to close out this part of the book, their relationship is blossoming. Jones and Natalie, they're feeling something there, right? There's a connection. And lo and behold, Natalie and that student successfully got their classes swapped. Natalie is now in Specialist Jones's Modern Standard Arabic class with him, and that other student received Korean the way he wanted, right? So now as we move on into this book, the next big arc we have is the first two semesters of the Arabic course, where a lot of intrigue, a lot of love, and a lot of relationships are formed and broken. So this next part comprises the vast majority of this book, right? This is about half of this book, realistically, right? And what we start to see is Natalie and Jones, their relationship continues to grow. Eventually, after studying a lot, after learning this language together, they share their first kiss. And this is something that's beautiful. But the entire time their relationship's been growing, something ominous has been happening behind the scenes. We start to dive in to what I think Natalie's biggest character flaw is, right? And that's jealousy. Throughout this entire book, there's a very strong undercurrent of Natalie's jealousy, even in situations where it's not necessarily warranted, right? Specialist Jones does a PT test, right? And he gets paired up with a female soldier, and all Natalie can do this entire time is watch this female soldier to ensure this female soldier isn't checking out Specialist Jones, right? Happens multiple times throughout the book. Also, during this part of the book, we have another, not one, but two Natalie massage fantasies, which is it's very strange how it keeps cropping up this way. Only this one gets far, far, far more explicit. This is probably one of the most explicit parts of the book, just in terms of content. But I'm going to put it on the screen. I'm not going to read any of it. So yeah, that's about as bad as the book gets in terms of like imagery and, smuttiness, so to speak. We're going to do a lightning round through the next 5-6 chapters of this book, just in terms of major events that occur. All right, because there's a lot. It happens like this. It just happens super quick. So to start off with, Specialist Jones can't make it to a coffee date down in Monterey. So to replace Specialist Jones on this coffee date, Natalie goes on a study adventure with a sailor who is also in the Arabic course. This sailor is named Cole, all right? And Cole and Natalie kind of start getting along. a little too well, if we're being completely honest, right? Things start to progress, and Natalie gets into a schedule. She'll spend Saturdays with Jones, Sundays with Cole. Oh shit, she's two-timing two dudes, right? So we keep moving on. She shares another kiss with Specialist Jones. She shares a kiss with Cole. Shit gets insane, right? And then eventually, we get to probably, in my mind, the penultimate mistake of Natalie. Natalie accepts Cole's offer to hop in his car and go on a little study date, right? One thing leads to another. Everything starts getting hectic. Natalie and Cole go to Asilmar Beach. It's a very popular spot to gather in Monterey, especially for students at DLI. They go down to Asilmar Beach, and this is where Natalie makes a massive mistake. Natalie sleeps with Cole. Keep in mind, she's been, Jones's ride or die like this whole time. They've had a will they won't they thing, but Natalie kind of ruined what they had by sleeping with this random sailor. So the love web expands, right? Natalie's confusion expands, right? And Jones does not know any of this is happening. This entire time, Specialist Jones has kind of been talking to this female soldier named Taylor on the side, right? I know what you're thinking. This is all Iran. None of this makes sense. And I think that's the point. And that's probably the greatest success of this book, single-handedly, is this book managed to nail the messy, sloppy nature of relationships at DLI, right? So the love web continues to expand. Cole wants something casual with Natalie. Natalie wants a relationship with Jones. Jones finds out that Natalie slept with Cole because Natalie's friend Taylor ratted on her, essentially, right? So then Taylor and Jones become a thing. They start dating, and Natalie is just left in the dust. So the latter third of this book is Natalie trying to come to terms with the fact that she ruined probably the deepest connection she had. And, she's just alone for the last third of the book. Cole finishes DLI, he leaves, goes off to additional training, and Natalie's just left in the dust. She can't go and talk to Specialist Jones because, as far as Jones is concerned, Natalie cheated on her, and essentially she did. So it's a really sad ending as we move into the closing chapters of this book. So as we get to the ending of this book, Natalie is left alone. Taylor and Specialist Jones are dating. And Natalie goes through the rest of the book, and eventually she finds out Specialist Jones and Taylor broke up. All right? So on Language Day, which is a big day near the end of the course where everyone goes out and it's like an expo for everyone's languages. You can demonstrate what you've learned, what you know about different cultures, stuff like that, right? Jones and Natalie reconnect, and they go to a deli called Campagno's, very famous place for people in Monterey, and they make up, right? And they realize they want to move forward together, right? Specialist Jones and Natalie both take their DLPT at the climax of the book, right? And they both pass their language. They have successfully graduated DLI. Specialist Jones receives his orders to Fort Eisenhower, Georgia, right? Natalie is waiting to see if she's going to go with Specialist Jones. And there's a chapter where she's nervous, she's waiting. No orders have dropped, they're pending. Till eventually she finds out she's going to the same base as Specialist Jones. So, to cap off what had been a really sad 4 to 5 chapters, Specialist Jones and Natalie have made up. They're dating again. They're trying to make things work, right? And we kind of end on an uplifting note, comparatively, in which our protagonist and her main love interest have, come together. They're going to start a new life together. And that's how this book ends, is looking brightly into the future of what happens after DLI. What happens after you get out of the Desperate Love Institute, right? So, in terms of my final feelings on this book, it's not good, truthfully, right? It's not the worst thing I've ever read, surprisingly, but I would not call it a good book. There's a reason it's only $5 on the Kindle store, right? This is not winning any New York Times bestsellers. But if you're just looking to burn an hour and a half to 2-3 hours tops, this isn't the worst book you could read. It does have some entertainment value, just in terms of the writing. So I would have to give this book a 2 out of 5 stars. And yeah, honestly, I say that it's a 2 out of 5 stars. I don't regret having read it. So take that as you will. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I don't know, if you're interested, maybe go pick up a copy of Desperate Love Institute by Jessica Carter. Peace.